So now I'd like to turn to the lungs, which were sitting in that space that we've just looked at in the thorax. And what we have here is the most magnificent dissection, very light, because the lungs themselves are like balloons, and they are effectively just two big balloons. And if we start at the top, this is the larynx, this is the epiglottis, this is the larynx, this is the trachea coming down, and then you can see at this point the trachea divides into two bronchi, and if you follow the bronchi down, they divide into lots and lots of smaller bronchi, which we'll look at in a moment. But this dissection has also dissected out the vessels, the arteries and the veins, and bitten away much of the actual lung tissue. So this area here is just the alveoli of the lung tissue. If we look at the side of the lungs, you can see the lungs are divided into segments. This is the upper lobe, this is the middle lobe, and here is the lower lobe. And you can see there's a gap through here that is in fact called a fissure. So my finger is lying in the oblique fissure. Now these lungs have been left with all the tissue. If we go to the next specimen, what the dissector, the prosector, has done is spent hundreds of hours dissecting away all the lung tissue. There would be the lungs normally sitting in this space. And they've dissected away the lung tissue, and what we're left with is just what we call the bronchial tree. Now, the bronchial tree is the thing that gets a bit blocked up and tight when we have asthma. So these little tubes, which are slightly cartilaginous, and you can see I'm playing with them all here. These are all the tree of the bronchi that actually expand out and go to the alveolar of the lung. When we looked at this lung, it's a fairly pale and clean lung, except for a few little deposits of carbon here in the top. Almost certainly someone that lived in the country and was a non-smoker. In this other specimen, I think you can immediately see that these are very dark and probably from a heavy smoker or someone that lived in an industrial environment. Also, if we look at this, you can see the root of the neck has been magnificently dissected with all the little muscles and the little nerves that go down to the arm. Here are the arteries of the neck. Here is the trachea. Here's the esophagus. Here's the carotid artery that would go up into the head. And you can see by looking down through the root of the lung, through the root of the neck, that the lung is peaking right up here. The lung tissue actually comes up above your clavicle. And as we go round, we can now see the diaphragm and the covering of the heart, and just the heart peeking out. This is called the pericardium. This is the diaphragm, and here are the coronary arteries just showing inside the chest wall where a window has been cut.